understandably concerned about germs and viruses. So couple Amelia and TJ founded Assuage. They make 100% recyclable seat protectors designed to cover public seats. So your buses, your airplanes, putting an extra layer between you and germs, bacteria, virus, and, ick, basically, whenever you travel. So to tell us more, we've got Amelia on the line. She is taking part in Money Diaries, a brave woman indeed, Amelia Gundersen-Herman. She spent most of her career in Dubai, marketing local and multinational brands across the sectors of hospitality, automotive and fashion, including West Lodge, Alfa Romeo and Lorna Jane Activewear. Amelia, before we start talking about your company, and this is completely off topic, I just want to say that Lorna Jane have the best leggings I've ever worn in my entire life. honest, my collection is getting out of control. They are phenomenal. That's all. I think they must be about 200% Lycra.
I completely agree.
I often get messages like, tell me about what you wear at the gym, like Lorna Jane. The leggings are amazing, because they remind me a bit of my maternity leggings, and they come up all the way, nice and high. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we ask you to lift the lid on your saving and your spending, tell us a little bit about the company. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, so it actually started as the idea of my boyfriend TJ's mother early in the pandemic. So she has one son that's living here in Dubai, one that's living in Dublin, and another that is in Toronto, where we're from, and he's relying on like public transit. And so she was concerned about everyone's exposure to germs as they're moving about for work and to return home. And when she told us this idea, we were like, how does this not exist? This needs to be something that we bring to the market, especially during COVID, while everyone's so concerned about finding new protections and nervous to go back out to public and return to the beauty salon or travel anywhere. So we wanted to provide that extra protection, and that's actually why we decided on the name Assuage, because Assuage is to, lessen your fears, and so that is really the aim of our business.
And I think we can all agree that yes, it's great to have businesses that are fun, but sometimes the best ones and the most successful ones are there to solve a problem, which is exactly what you've done. And we also know that companies that launch during a pandemic or during a recession have a very good chance. So huge congratulations. It's good to hear something positive come out of 2020. So let's talk money. Generally, would you say, Amelia, are you a saver or a spender?
Well, so I would say between TJ and I, he is the saver. He's naturally focused on saving for us to have a wonderful future. Whereas I'm not a big spender, but I am more inclined to want to get the most out of life in the present.
That's like me. I'm like, it's better to do, better regret the things you've done than things you haven't done. And then growing up, then what kind of conversations were you having about money? Did your family educate you about finances?
Well, so my parents were big on teaching my sister and I the difference between needs and wants when it comes to spending. So of course they would buy us clothes, but I would say if we wanted the expensive trendy shoes or something like that, that was something we would have to buy for ourselves. So even going out with friends as teenagers was usually out of my own pocket. And I think it definitely made me decide more responsibly about how I use my money, and even made me think twice about, picking up an extra shift at the ice cream shop versus going out for another night, especially if I was saving for something specific. And so, I think
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that, I think I still carry that lesson with me, especially with Assuage, because you've got to keep the expenses low to keep the business sustainable and profitable. So, sometimes you're like, well, we'd love to outsource this, but you have to ask yourself, is it something that we can do ourselves, and does it truly add value? So I'm grateful for those lessons from my parents, and believe they've probably made me a better entrepreneur.
I think that speaks to the point that all startups and entrepreneurs will be nodding along to, saying, when is that time that you outsource? Because at the beginning, you're doing everything. Your HR, your PR, your marketing, your ops. It's a lot of work, and there's, I think, a lot of a lot of people understand when you work for yourself, that doesn't stop. You know, there's always something to do. There's the, you know, chasing business, there's the invoicing, there's how are you finding that side of it? Are you able to switch off at all right now?
I would say switching off is hard. I think we try to keep Saturdays as our day that's totally off, but otherwise it's a bit from wake up to go to bed, you're on in some capacity.
You mentioned the ice cream parlor there, Amelia. So what was your first job? Why did you get it? Can you remember how much you earned?
Oh wow, I don't think I can remember how much I earned there, but yeah, so it was a friend's parents' business, just a local ice cream shop. So I'd say that's probably how I got the job. And of course I wanted a job because I wanted those extras. I wanted the trendy shoes or the going out, and I knew that was on me. So I think I was motivated, and working with ice cream isn't an awful job.
No, I think a lot of people have had some shocking first jobs. We will be talking about them, I'm sure. Well, mine was horrendous. I remember crying in the toilets after washing dishes for a night. Be like, I don't want to go back. And I'm going, you're not letting these people down. I don't want to go back. But these are the jobs that, you know, teach us humility and, you know, going through life at all levels. And I think everyone should, you know, work as a waiter or work in a shop at some point, because it helps us go through the world understanding and appreciating every role. It's hugely important.
Yeah, the people skills I think are very unique when you're in a service position like that.
Exactly. So what age then did you become financially responsible for yourself?
So I would say pretty young, but I would say probably in college, because in college I was already taking care of everything for myself. So my apartment off campus was my own expense, utilities, groceries, securing student loans to cover the tuition. And really, I was working 20 plus hours a week at a part-time job while doing a full course load and being editor of the law review and president of the sorority and everything. So I was very busy.
Have you ever been really broke? Really broke?
Yes, I would say so. I would say actually in Dubai. One of my first jobs here was for a startup. And long story short, that company failed. But I kept working for them several months more than I should have, and they kept promising salary was coming, and in the end it never came. So several months of expenses with no salary, and then shortly thereafter I had a family emergency that required me to spend on international flights and accommodation. So that was a pretty bad situation, but I would say if it weren't for some friends here in Dubai that are as close to me as family that helped me weather that storm, I probably wouldn't still be in Dubai after that.
Amelia joining us until 4:30 this afternoon. She is the co-founder of Assuage. They're as recyclable seat protectors. Who knew we'd be having this conversation a year ago, Amelia, that you launched a company during a pandemic to address a problem we'd never really thought about? Up next, asking Amelia about some of her biggest splurges and her advice to her younger self on the financial front.
Life Balance on Afternoons with Helen Farmer.
It is Money Diaries in conversation now with Amelia Gundersen-Herman. She's spent most of her career in Dubai in marketing local and multinational brands across hospitality, fashion, automotive, and is the co-founder of Assuage. She founded it with her boyfriend TJ. They make 100% recyclable seat protectors. So this is designed to cover public seating, whether that is on the bus or a plane or in the salon, putting an extra layer between you and other people, but also germs, bacteria, viruses, and more. And she's bravely agreed to share some of her savings and spendings mishaps and some of the successes as well. So aside from property or a car, what's been your biggest splurge, Amelia?
Well, the biggest purchase, I would say, is also the biggest risk, which will hopefully have the biggest returns, and that is the business that's starting Assuage. The reasons that I believe this big purchase will be worth the risk is partially because of the timing. I think because of the pandemic going on, people will be quicker than ever to adopt such a new product. and people are actively looking for solutions like this. But I also believe in its usefulness outside of the pandemic. For example, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable starting a company selling face masks because I don't believe that they will be common after the pandemic passes. But seats on airplanes and in cinemas will always be dirty, and they were dirty long before the pandemic. So I believe this is just an untapped solution that people would have loved to have and will always love to have in the future.
Well, judging by a number of messages asking where to get them from, it's a good sign. Amelia, what's the best way of getting hold of these products?
So you can get them from our website, which is assuagetravel.ae.
Good to know.
And you can find us on social as well with Assuage Travel.
Brilliant. So there you go, guys. That's a few Christmas presents sorted, I think, on the practical front. What advice would you give to any aspiring entrepreneurs right now?
So I would say be as prepared as you can before making the jump into entrepreneurship, but also realize that you don't know what you don't know. So inevitably, there will be a lot of major learning that comes from doing. And entrepreneurship is as much an art as a science. So it's preparing, but then also being agile along the way.
And what about looking ahead to the future? Have you got any splurges planned? What do you think your next big purchase is going to be?
Well, it will be something that is both priceless, but also something that will be a good investment, because we're looking at buying a property back home in North America. So we're trying to find something that will both be a home that we love to live in, but also serve as an investment for the future.
I'm very jealous of you buying in North America, because my favorite Instagram account is Cheap Old Houses. I don't know if you follow it.
Oh, yes.
It makes me so happy every single day to see, like, oh, look, I could buy, a former school that I could have a 6-bedroom home in for $25,000. Between that and this has become my kind of 2020 obsession, is cheap old houses and looking at cabins. I just want to buy a cabin. So I'm very jealous of that, Amelia. Very, very jealous indeed. And both personally and professionally then, looking to 2021, let's do an auditory kind of a bit of a vision board right here on the radio. What are your hopes for next year?
So I would say definitely finding the dream house back home. I think it's been a difficult year to be away from family, and so now more than ever we're craving to be closer to those loved ones. So that's a big one for the 2021 vision board. And of course, Assuage for the company to grow and see new successes in this year.
Well, it sounds like you've got it sussed, and wishing you all the very best. But before I let you go, we are having a bit of an SME special, and I'd love you to pay it forward. Is there any businesses here in the UAE that you particularly admire, startups that you think deserve a bit of radio love, Amelia?
Well, I would actually shout out to Tish Tash PR Communications, because I think that they have really done some incredible things for the community and really innovative things during the pandemic, from starting the SME Rise Collective to helping small businesses get marketing services during this tough time, as well as they've been really innovative in the industry. So I would highly recommend following them at least, and using them if you can.
Well said indeed. And just remind us of the website for anyone who wants to order the products.
AssuageTravel.ae.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amelia. Really, really appreciate your time. Wishing you all the very best into 2021.